Alrighty guys, so today in this video we are going to be throwing some swim baits, and we're going to be talking about the best ways to throw swim baits, because this is in-depth video number 4. This is episode number 4. There was either a frog or a big bluegill right there. But alright, so you can see we're actually getting a little bit of grass on the pond, which is either a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know yet. But as you guys seen in my last video, I talked about the Texas rig, and we will be throwing a Texas rig swim bait a little bit today in this video. That's actually what we're going to start out with. So, this here's a Straight King little 3.75 inch Rage swimmer with a 1/2 ounce bullet weight 3/0 EWG Gamakatsu hook. It's a little bit big of a hook for such a small swim bait. But oh well. It's easier to hook them with a bigger hook. That's something I learned a long time ago. So, best ways to fish a Texas rig swim bait, like I told you a while back in the house, talking to you about the swim baits and stuff. We're gonna head down here to this brush pile. We're also gonna scout out and see if we can see any big bluegill up close to the surface. Might do some fly fishing today as well, because I ain't got nothing else to do. But yeah, nice little Texas rig swim bait right here. But best way to fish a Texas rig swim bait is flipping it. That's my favorite way to fish a Texas rig swim bait. You flip it in there and you raise your rod tip up a few times and let it sink down, and 1, 2, usually after 2, if I don't catch one or if I don't feel anything, like if I don't feel a bite, I'll usually just let go and reel it in. Another good way of doing it, cast it out, reel it really quick, get it up over the brush and all that. But yeah, best way to fish a Texas rig swim bait is to flip it, which is basically exactly what I was telling you earlier, how to flip a swim bait and stuff. Another good way of fishing a swim bait, which a lot of people don't know, at least a Texas rig swim bait is what I mean, is cast it out and you let it sink all the way to the bottom. Once it gets to the bottom, you just slowly reel it right along the bottom. Hope I see some bluegill over there. Might do some fly fishing later. Yep. But you just reel it right across the bottom real slow like. And it'll give the appearance of a small injured shad or bluegill or whatever you're trying to imitate with your swim bait. But it'll give the appearance of a small injured, wounded bluegill or shad or whatever. Speaking of bluegill, one right there, one right there. I can't see any others, but I'm sure they're there. Yeah, you just cast it out, let it sink to the bottom, and then real slowly reel it. Another way that you can do it, I've actually caught quite a few bass doing this, is letting it sink all the way to the bottom on a slack line. Actually, I've done it to where I was fishing with 2 rods at once for bass. I would cast the swim bait on jig head out and let it fall on a slack line, then I'd cast out a weightless trick worm. And I almost doubled up twice, but I ended up losing one of them. It's a little bit shallow right here it's a little bit shallow to do it here, but basically what I'm doing is letting it fall down and then just popping it up. Pop it up. Let it fall back down, pop it back up. Let it sink, pop it back up. Another way you can do it is just reel and then pop it and let it sink back down on a slack line. That's how I was doing it. I was actually using a little jig head. It was actually a swim jig that the skirt broke on it. Like almost all of the skirt material had broken off of it. It just fell out. So I just take that swim jig head and was casting it out and throwing it like that. And you guys see a lot of debris on the water. That's what happens when it's springtime. A lot of debris on the water. So yeah, take it, cast it out into the, oh, that's not good. A little bit of a backlash there. With 20-pound mono, that is to be expected sometimes. It happens a few times around. Alright, pull it up, reel it slow. It works a lot easier when you don't have a telephone pole as a fishing rod, you know what I mean? There's a little bluegill right there. If I had my fly rod, I'd probably be able to catch it. Cast it out there. You can also just real slowly reel it like almost like you're slow rolling a spinnerbait, just like that. And another way you can do it, which is one of my favorite ways of doing it, is to cast it out and reel it across the surface. Works a little bit better with a weighted, or a little bit less weighted swim bait, which we'll talk about that here in a second. This here is a 1/2 ounce swim bait, and it's kind of hard to keep it above the surface. We'll talk about that here in a second though, because I do have a swim bait that I use a lot for that type of technique. But a good times to throw a swim bait is when the fish aren't really hitting a spinnerbaits or a chatterbait or anything like that. You know, when they're not really hitting something, you know, fast, like super fast, a lot of vibration. And when they're not hitting something like that, like a spinnerbait, chatterbait, swim jig even, you want something with a little bit of a smaller profile. You can throw a little swim bait like this. This here is kind of a normal size swim bait in my opinion. It's actually it's on the smaller side, in my honest opinion. It is on a little bit smaller side. You know, a normal swim bait. Ooh! Did y'all see that? Whoa! Something just busted right over here. Like I think it was a big bass. I think it was that bigger bass. Like it came up and exploded on something. I might be able to catch it right here. I think it's sitting up there in shallows. I wonder if it's spawning, because I do see a light mark. I do see a light spot over there. We're going to have to step over there here in a second and find out. See if it might be on the bed. Maybe it's chasing bluegill away from its bed. Come here. Follow me and we'll see if that is a spawning largemouth. Something just moved over there. I don't see any bass sitting over there. We're going to go over there anyway because that was a little bit suspicious. I wonder if they might be starting to spawn possibly. Because it is definitely getting weather for it. I wish I had my polarized sunglasses on for it, but I don't. Can't really see all that well. Right over here, there was a big explosion as I was walking back this way. Flip it out there and just slowly drag it back and see what happens in. Well, that was weird, because I cast it back over here and there was like, it almost looked like I spooked it. Maybe they're staging possibly. Boys and girls, we might be starting to have some spawning activity. I know my cousin and my uncle were telling me about a really big bass that they seen on the bed about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So it is possible that they're starting to spawn. I just had a bite. Like a good bite too. There was a good bite right over there. That would be a bass. Huh. Okay, well, spawning activity possibly. That'd be nice. I'm ready to fish for some spawning fish. Okay. So, get back to what I was talking about. I honestly don't remember what I was talking about. Ooh, big old bluegill right here up in the shallow. That was a pretty good sized bluegill too. Probably a green sunfish hybrid. But anyway, go back to what I was saying about the normal size swim baits and all that. Is this swim bait here is actually on the smaller side of the scale. Normally, if I was fishing, ooh, look there. Look right there, you guys. There's a big old green sunfish hybrid sitting right there. Pretty shallow right here too. But anyway, ooh, I got it. Oh my God, I got the big bass. No way. During an in-depth video. During the in-depth video, oh my God, it's big too. Holy cow, it's big. Oh my God, you guys. No way. During an in-depth video, oh my God, I gotta go get a weight on her. Come on, you guys, we gotta go get a scale. Holy cow, we gotta go get my scale. I just put new batteries in it too. No way. Okay, we gotta go get our scale. Because I was told by my dad if I catch it again, I need to weigh it. When I flipped, I watched my swim bait and it hit the water, and there was a bass sitting next to that swim bait where it hit the water, and it came over and grabbed it. Look at her belly. Okay, we gotta get her scale. Gotta get my scale here. Holy cow. Okay, turn the scale on. We're gonna weigh her here. Okay, there's the 272. Okay, let's go get her back in the water. Come on. I'm gonna go out the back door. 272. I'm gonna have to mark that down, that way we know. Heck yeah, man. Okay, I'm gonna get her in the water as soon as possible. That way she stays healthy. Wow. During an in-depth video and everything, we're definitely gonna keep this in. Alrighty. There she is, you guys. Nice, healthy, fat. I think she's a female largemouth bass. We're going to release her right here. And there she goes. Oh, yeah. That is what I'm talking about. For whoever was thinking that a Texas rig swim bait didn't catch bass, there's your proof right there. I flipped right over there by that brush pile, and when the bait hit the water, I seen a black line sitting next to where my bait hit the water. And when it hit, it splashed. That bait splashed in the water, and that bass turned around, and that swim bait sunk down, and I reeled up, and it was just heavy, so I set the hook. And there we go, y'all. Woo! Caught that on a Straight King Rage Tail 3.75 inch Rage Tail swimmer. 1/2 ounce pegged bullet weight with a 3/0 EWG Gamakatsu. Same exact setup that I was telling y'all about earlier during my part 2 in-depth video. Woo! That is awesome. I cannot believe that. During an in-depth video and everything, I am shocked right now. Whew. Awesome. So, since we just caught that bass, why not talk about a brand new setup that I just got the other day. So, y'all may have seen my Alpha rod and reel combo, right? The Shakespeare Alpha. Well, I was jigging a 1.5 ounce swim bait up off the bottom with it and broke the anti-reverse in it. So I was going to go and buy a brand new reel, and my dad said, why buy a brand new reel? I'll just sell you this one here. This is actually a Abu Garcia Black Max. Really good reel. I really like the Abu Garcia reels. And this reel, I think, has a little bit faster. Yeah, it's 6.2 to 1. Yeah, we're throwing, this here is a keel weighted swim bait here. I am honestly just, I'm shook right now. I am shook. But this here is a 5-inch Yum swim bait. If any of y'all know what type of swim bait this is, let me know, because I've been looking for them literally for years. Like at least 2 years I've been looking for this swim bait. And as you guys see, I have a 3/0 belly weighted hook, and y'all wondered probably what that little chartreuse thing is. That's actually part of a floating worm that I stuck on the hook, and then I put this little gold blade. Believe it or not, I actually found this gold blade in a Walmart parking lot. No joke. No joke at all. I actually found that blade in the parking lot of a Walmart, sitting on the ground. My mom thought it was an earring, and she picked it up and she read it, and it said Booyah. So this is a Booyah Pond Magic blade that had fallen off of a swim bait or a spinner bait at some point as that guy or girl was leaving Walmart. And now it is in my possession because my mom found it. But anyway, yeah, if any of y'all know what type of swim bait this is, please let me know, because I know it's a Yum brand, but I can never figure out what kind it is. If y'all know, please let me know, because I love these things. This is a swim bait I caught one of my biggest 5-fish limits on. I caught one of my biggest 5-fish limits on this this same swim bait with actually the same exact hook. I just didn't have the blade on it. Whoa, man! I'm honestly, I'm still like really shook about that. I was not expecting that at all. But anyway, how I like to fish an underspin type swim bait like this, whether it's a jig head swim bait head or a normal 3/0 like EWG type hook like this here is anywhere where there is what they call a flat. And what a flat is where it is one depth all the way across from right here. I don't know if y'all can see that, not this, but there's a stick out there. From there back to here, it's about a foot deep all the way to the end, and it's about maybe 6 inches. All this is about a foot deep to about 2 foot deep, somewhere in that area. So this is basically a flat with a big brush pile on it. And if you ask any professional bass fisherman about flats, what do they want on a flat? They either want rock, grass, or brush piles. And most of the time on man-made reservoirs and places like that, there is people who put big brush piles in like these flats that are like 6 foot deep, and they'll do that and it'll make the fishing 100 times better. So a swim bait like this on a flat is perfect. You can fish it in like super shallow water. I've done it. Actually, how I caught that big, my personal best, I guess it would be my weight out of 5 fish, I was actually taking this specific swim bait with this hook, just without the blade, and casting it along a flat. It was about a 2 foot deep flat, and it was about 2 foot to a foot all the way across for about maybe, I'd say probably 70, close to 80 yards. And then this was all flat all the way along, and then it went out about maybe 50 yards. So I was just flipping it, or I was throwing it super far, basically as hard as I could, and I would throw that swim bait out there, and it would land, and I would just start reeling it just like this right here, just like this, non-stop, just like that. And I would see the swim bait, and once I would reel it to where I could see it, I would let it drop a little bit and reel it again. And I've actually done that with, not only have I done it with swim baits, but I've also done it with worms. Y'all may know about those like cream worms where they got the line through them and they got the 3 hooks. Some of y'all probably know about them. I basically grew up, that was the first soft plastic worm I ever used, was one of those. And what I would do with that is I would cast it out, hit the water, I would let it sink down to where I couldn't see it, and I would reel it till I could, and then I let it sink down, and usually after the second time of doing that, I would catch a fish. And that's actually kind of how I got into fishing. That and the black and white topwater torpedo, which I've talked about before. But yeah, that's how I got into fishing, just like that. So doing that with this swim bait ended up making me catch one of my biggest 5-fish limit bags ever. So, you know, taking these and throwing them on flats, throwing them in schooling fish. If you're going to fish with a underspin, fish it where the schooling fish are. Do not overlook those schooling fish. And if you're going to fish schooling fish, go either one of two ways, okay? Now, you're going to hear a lot of people, and I do mean a lot of people, say that you need to match the hatch. Not all the time do you need to match the hatch. Sometimes the best thing to do, now this is depending on whether or not you want to catch big fish or a lot of fish, because there's 3 different ways to approach schooling fish. And I'm going to make a whole different video on this later on in the year when schooling fish are really active. But you can either go tiny, which is smaller than the actual bait fish themselves. You can go big, which is bigger than all the bait fish that are in that school. You can go like a big 6-inch swim bait when the fish are schooling on 3-inch swim baits, or 3-inch shad, and catch some of the bigger fish. You might not get as many bites, but you'll catch bigger fish. And also, you can go natural, which if the fish are schooling on 3-inch shad, throw a 3-inch swim bait. You can go hundreds of different ways with them. But my favorites, just like I was saying, are either natural, big, or small. And another way you could throw a swim bait like this is you can throw it and buzz it across the top of the water like so. It doesn't run very good with the blade on it. Plus, it doesn't run very good with leaves on it either. LOL. But you can buzz it across the surface and you can catch some pretty good bass that way. Actually, the first swim bait bass I ever caught was because I made a bad cast in the wind and I was buzzing it across the grass, and one came up and busted on it, and I ended up catching it. That was the first fish I ever caught on a swim bait. And it was actually one of these swim baits. The exact type swim bait. I'm probably the same exact hook as well, because this is like the only hook I ever put on these swim baits. And since this video is already 22 minutes long, goodness gracious, I did not realize that. Me catching that fish really threw a wrench in my plans, I guess, but I'm glad it happened. I am definitely glad it happened. I was not expecting it at all. But then, like I was saying, you can go big, small, and here's small. So, this is one of my Doc's Lures, tiny 2-inch swim baits. This color here is the bloody white, which has got a red belly and a white back. Really good color to imitate a bleeding minnow. Looks really good in the water. Now obviously with a 2-inch swim bait like this, you can't exactly get an EWG that small, so you'd have to throw it on a jig head, which as you can see is not exactly ideal with all this debris on the water. But if you're just targeting any fish in the school, if you're targeting every single fish that is in the school, if you're targeting the small bass, the white bass, the stripers, the walleye, bluegill, anything, if you're just trying to catch a bunch of fish and you don't really care what kind of fish they are, throw a little swim bait like this. They make Kitex in this size. They make this like swim bait here if you want to buy some of mine. They make other kind of swim baits this small, but as far as I know, I've never seen a 2-inch swim bait in like the colors that I make, like the blacks and green pumpkin. But yeah, green pumpkin is a good bluegill imitator, especially if you're fishing for fish that are either on beds or fish that are after bluegill that are on beds. A little green pumpkin swim bait this small would be perfect. But yeah, just a nice little green swim bait would be good for that. And another good way of fishing one of these type of little swim baits on a jig head is what they call the Damiki rig. And I'm sure you guys have heard of that if you're anywhere near the south, down in Tennessee or Kentucky. Basically what you do is you cast it, or you don't even cast it, you basically just vertical jig the little swim bait I don't know how well y'all see it, but you basically just vertical jig it. And Jacob Wheeler back in 2017, which was last year, I don't know why I said back in, but in 2017 he caught his whole limit just fishing a little Demiki rig swim bait and fishing Lake Cherokee, which I'm pretty sure is in Tennessee, but I might not be right. So yeah, these little swim baits here are good for everything from crappie, bass, white bass, stripers, smallmouth. I think that this little bait here up in Michigan, fishing for them smallmouth that are schooling on those small little goalbies with a big jig head like this here, is going to be dynamite. If any of y'all live up there, trust me, okay, this is not just product placement. I honestly, in my whole heart, believe that this thing would just decimate the smallmouth population with a little 1/4 ounce jig head, make the head just a little bit bigger than the body. That way it looks like a little goalby. I mean, I'm going to take that leaf off of there. I mean, look at that thing. Doesn't that look like a little goalby? Looks really good. But any of y'all up there in Michigan are fishing for those fish that are after the goalbies, this little swim bait here would be perfect for you. And even if you're fishing for if you're fishing for stripers, or like County Line Outdoors, he bought some from me for redfish, snook, and trout down in saltwater. And these things would be good for that as well. I mean, these things will catch anything. Anything that eats little minnows would come up and hit this. So thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all like that surprise catch. I did not expect that at all. Was really just trying to make an informational video and end up catching a fish. So if y'all were skeptical before about Texas rig swim baits, you definitely can't be skeptical after that. So thanks for watching, you guys. Sorry if the video's a little bit long. I hope it was worth it. I think I loaded this video down with good informational techniques and stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching, y'all. See you later.